do better. Where have all the leaders gone? The test of a leader. I've never been commander-in-chief, but I've been a CEO. I understand a few things about leadership at the top. I figured out 9 points, not 10. I don't want people accusing me of thinking I'm Moses. I call them the 9 C's of leadership. They're not fancy or complicated, just clear, obvious qualities that every true leader should have. We should look at how the current administration stacks up. Like it or not, this crew's going to be around till January 2009. Maybe we can learn something before we go to the polls in 2008. Then let's be sure we use the leadership test to screen the candidates who say they want to run the country. It's up to us to choose wisely. So here's my C list. A leader has to show curiosity. He has to listen to people outside of the yes sir crowd in his inner circle. He has to read voraciously, because the world is a big, complicated place. George W. Bush brags about never reading a newspaper. I just scan the headlines, he says. Am I hearing this right? He's the President of the United States and he never reads a newspaper? Thomas Jefferson once said, "Were it left to me to decide whether we should have a government without newspapers or newspapers without a government, I should not hesitate for a moment to prefer the latter." Bush disagrees. As long as he gets his daily hour in the gym with Fox News piped through the sound system, he's ready to go. If a leader never steps outside his comfort zone to hear different ideas, he grows stale. If he doesn't put his beliefs to the test, how does he know he's right? The inability to listen is a form of arrogance. It means either you think you already know it all or you just don't care. Before the 2006 election, George Bush made a big point of saying he didn't listen to polls. Yeah, that's what they all say when the polls stink, but maybe he should have listened, because 70% of the people were saying he was on the wrong track. It took a thumping on Election Day to wake him up, but even then you got the feeling he wasn't listening so much as he was calculating how to do a better job of convincing everyone he was right. A leader has to be creative, go out on a limb, be willing to try something different. Think outside the box. George Bush prides himself on never changing even as the world around him is spinning out of control. God forbid someone should accuse him of flip-flopping. There's a disturbingly messianic fervor to his certainty. Senator Joe Biden recalled a conversation he had with Bush a few months after our troops marched into Baghdad. Joe was in the Oval Office outlining his concerns to the president. The explosive mix of Shiite and Sunnis, the disbanded Iraqi army, the problems securing the oil fields. The president was serene, Joe recalled. He told me he was sure that we were on the right course and that all would be well. "Mr. President," I finally said, "how can you be so sure when you don't know all the facts?" Bush then reached over and put a steadying hand on Joe's shoulder. "My instincts," he said, "my instincts." Joe was flabbergasted. He told Bush, "Mr. President, your instincts alone aren't good enough." Joe Biden sure didn't think the matter was settled, and as we all know now, it wasn't. Leadership is all about managing change, whether you're leading a company or leading a country. Things change and you get creative, you adapt. Maybe Bush was absent the day they covered that at Harvard Business School. A leader has to communicate. I'm not talking about running off at the mouth or spouting sound bites. I'm talking about facing reality and telling the truth. Nobody in the current administration seems to know how to talk straight anymore. Instead, they spend most of their time trying to convince us that things are not really as bad as they seem. I don't know if it's denial or dishonesty, but it can start to drive you crazy after a while. Communication has to start with telling the truth, even when it's painful. The war in Iraq has been, among other things, a grand failure of communication. Bush is like the boy who didn't cry wolf when the wolf was at the door. After years of being told that all is well, even as the casualties and chaos mount, we've stopped listening to him. A leader has to be a person of character. That means knowing the difference between right and wrong and having the guts to do the right thing.